Hey everyone, I hope you're well. Welcome to our deep dive into the First World War, a conflict that shaped the modern world in ways we still feel today. From the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand to the Treaty of Versailles, this war triggered a seismic shift in geopolitics, technology, and human consciousness. Over the next hour, we will uncover 10 remarkable, lesser-known facts about the Great War, shedding light on the bravery, the tragedy, and the enduring legacy of this global conflict. Join me as we traverse the battle-scarred landscapes, delve into the trenches, and unearth the stories that defined a generation. Our story begins in Sarajevo, Bosnia, on a seemingly ordinary summer morning. Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie embark on a motorcade through the city. Gavrilo Princip, a 19-year-old Serbian, fires two fatal shots, striking the Archduke and his wife. The assassination sends shockwaves through Europe, setting in motion a chain of events that will plunge the continent into war. The intricate web of alliances unravels, pulling nations into conflict. Within weeks, a local dispute explodes onto the global stage. As the drums of war beat louder, Europe finds itself divided into two armed camps. On one side stand the Central Powers, on the other, the Allied Powers. These alliances represent a complex web of treaties and agreements, a delicate balance of power now teetering on the brink of collapse. On the Western Front, trench warfare emerges. Imagine a desolate landscape, a labyrinth of trenches. Millions face each other across no man's land, scarred by artillery fire. Life in the trenches is a brutal test. Soldiers endure relentless shelling and sniper attacks. They live in constant fear, surrounded by death and decay. Disease claims many lives. Despite the horrors, moments of humanity flicker amidst the darkness. The First World War marks a turning point in military history, a brutal showcase for new and terrifying technologies. The world had never seen such killing power. Tanks, lumbering behemoths of steel, make their debut on the battlefield, designed to break the stalemate of trench warfare. Their arrival is met with a mixture of awe and terror, their ability to traverse even the most treacherous terrain, crushing barbed wire and enemy positions under their tracks. But it is the introduction of chemical weapons that truly unleashes a new level of horror. Chlorine gas, first used by the Germans, drifts silently across the battlefield, engulfing soldiers in a choking greenish-yellow cloud. The effects are immediate and devastating. Men cough and sputter, their lungs burning as they struggle for each breath. Mustard gas, even more insidious, blisters the skin and causes blindness, inflicting excruciating pain that can last for weeks. The use of chemical weapons, a violation of international law, shocks the world and leaves an indelible stain on the conscience of mankind. Amidst the vast canvas of the First World War, certain battles stand out for their sheer scale and brutality. The Battle of the Somme, launched by the British in the summer of 1916, becomes synonymous with the horrors of trench warfare. On the first day of the offensive alone, the British Army suffers over 57,000 casualties, the bloodiest day in its history. The battle rages on for months, a relentless back-and-forth struggle for a few yards of mud. Verdun, in northeastern France, becomes another killing field. The German offensive, launched in February 1916, aims to bleed the French army dry. For months, the battle rages, a relentless artillery bombardment transforming the landscape into a lunar wasteland. Verdun becomes a symbol of French resilience, a desperate struggle for national survival. These battles, etched in the annals of military history, claim the lives of millions and leave an enduring legacy of trauma and loss. As the war drags on, a different kind of battle is waged on the home front, the battle for hearts and minds. Governments on all sides utilize propaganda to fuel patriotic fervor, demonize the enemy, and maintain morale. Posters depict heroic soldiers defending their homeland against barbaric hordes. Newspapers publish stories of atrocities, often exaggerated or fabricated to stir up hatred and resentment. Censorship is widespread, ensuring that only information favorable to the war effort reaches the public. Governments understand the power of moving images. Newsreels shown in cinemas present a sanitized version of the war, emphasizing victories and downplaying defeats. The horrors of the trenches, the unimaginable suffering are carefully concealed from public view. This propaganda blitz, while effective in mobilizing populations, also serves to dehumanize the enemy, creating a climate of fear and suspicion that will have lasting consequences. While the Western Front captures the world's attention, the First World War is truly a global conflict involving colonies and nations far from the battlefields of Europe. In Africa, Asia, and the Middle East, colonial troops are drawn into the fray, fighting for the empires of their European masters. Indian soldiers fighting for the British Empire find themselves in the trenches of France, facing conditions they could never have imagined. African soldiers recruited from across the continent serve on both sides of the conflict, their sacrifices often overlooked in the annals of history. The Ottoman Empire, battling internal strife and external pressure, becomes a battleground for control of the strategically vital Middle East. The war spills over into the Middle East, drawing in Arab tribes and igniting a struggle for independence that will have profound implications for the region's future. The First World War is not only a clash of armies, but also a battle of economies. The cost of sustaining millions of men in the field, of producing weapons and ammunition on an industrial scale, places an unprecedented strain on the economies of all the combatant nations. Governments print vast sums of money to finance the war effort, leading to runaway inflation that erodes the value of currencies. Food shortages become commonplace as agricultural production plummets and resources are diverted to the war effort. Rationing is introduced in many countries, limiting the consumption of essential goods. Civilians on the home front endure hardship and deprivation, their lives forever altered by the war. The economic consequences of the conflict will reverberate for decades to come, contributing to the instability that will ultimately lead to the Great Depression. By 1918, after 4 long years of bloodshed, the tide of war begins to turn. The United States, drawn into the conflict a year earlier, tips the balance of power in favor of the Allies. Germany, facing exhaustion and mounting casualties, realizes that victory is no longer attainable. On November 11, 1918, at 11 a.m., an armistice agreement is signed in a railway carriage in Compiègne, France. The guns fall silent, bringing an end to the hostilities. The world rejoices, relieved that the nightmare is finally over, but the cost of victory is staggering. Millions lie dead, their lives cut short by the senseless carnage. The world is forever changed, scarred by the horrors it has witnessed. The Treaty of Versailles, signed the following year, aims to ensure a lasting peace, but sows the seeds of future conflict. The First World War may be over, but its legacy casts a long shadow over the 20th century. The Treaty of Versailles, while intended to prevent future wars, instead creates resentment and instability. Germany, burdened with crippling reparations and blamed for the war, feels humiliated. The Austro-Hungarian, Russian, and Ottoman empires lie in ruins, their demise giving rise to new nations and power vacuums. The war reshapes the map of Europe, redrawing boundaries and creating new states. But the peace is a fragile one. Economic depression, political extremism, and unresolved national tensions create fertile ground for future conflict. The seeds of the Second World War are sown in the ashes of the First, a stark reminder that the quest for peace is a perpetual struggle. The First World War stands as a stark warning from history, a testament to the devastating consequences of unchecked nationalism, militarism, and the failure to find peaceful solutions to international disputes. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the First World War. We've explored the key players, the pivotal battles, and the devastating consequences of this global conflict, a conflict that reshaped the world and continues to resonate today. As we reflect on the sacrifices made and the lessons learned, let us remember the millions who perished and strive to create a world where the horrors of war are never repeated. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more historical insights. See you next time.